Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to the Football Overseas YouTube channel, and welcome to another round of EFL Championship predictions. A full programme to look forward to this weekend, as we had last weekend. So just a quick look at the league table as it stands today. We have Leeds now still at the top, obviously, 72 points. 7 points now clear of the third place team Burnley, who had another 0-0 draw. They're 12th, I believe, now, that is, of the season. And it is starting to cost them a little bit. They do need to sort of step up to a little bit more now. Sheffield United and Leeds are threatening a bit of a two-team breakaway. 5 points clear. Sheffield United are of Burnley, as I say, 7 to Leeds at the top. So spread the top four, spreading out a little bit. Then we have 51 points, Blackburn in 5th. And only a 9-point gap then down to Preston on 42, down in 15th. So they're all still bunched together. And at the bottom, additional to the last weekend, they had a catch-up match down at Luton in the week. And it was Luton against Plymouth. So quite a significant match with the bottom two. And they're not now Plymouth have had this little revival. Neither of them are really adrift. But they couldn't make headway that they wanted to. And Luton and Plymouth saw out a one each draw, and it means still a winless run for new manager Matt Bloomfield at Luton. And I thought he looked a little bit feeling that pinch a little bit now, although he's new into the post and everything else. He's just feeling this winless run is starting to weigh heavy on him, I thought, in his post-match interview, but that might be just me. But yes, so they're still bottom of the table on 27, Plymouth 28, Derby 29, and then Hull 30, just above the line. So they're the four sort of teams taking up the bottom reins at the moment. Portsmouth had a really good win last Saturday at Oxford. I believe that's Oxford's first defeat under Gary Rowett, first home defeat under Gary Rowett. And Portsmouth will be pleased to get a clean sheet and B, a win on the road after all those defeats that they've had. And setbacks on the road. That was a useful 3 points. It came at a cost, with one of their main men, Callum Lang, picking up a hamstring injury, which is seemingly that's written his season off, unfortunately. So they've got to fill that gap somehow pretty quickly. But that's all. So we'll have a little brief chat about the games that we had last weekend as we go through. But that's just to sum up where we are, top and bottom. And as I say, much the same as you were in the middle placings. So, what have we got this weekend then? We've got 2 Friday night games. The first listed is Bristol City against Middlesbrough. And Middlesbrough feeling the pinch a little bit now. 4 defeats on the trot. And going down to Ashton Gate, who, if not the greatest style of football, in my eyes, being a fan, they've certainly got the numbers game quite good at home this season. So there'll be a tough nut for Middlesbrough. Bristol City will hope the Friday night lights will inspire them to a much needed win, really, because they've been just clawing away, knocking at the door of the playoff top 6, but haven't broken into it. And they've had chances and spurned those chances, not least so against Cardiff in the seven-side derby last weekend, when they were ahead right until the 90th minute, as has happened on several occasions this season, and they can't game manage those last few moments, or they don't do it in the right way. I don't know, and I'm not going to get too deep into that. My thoughts on that, that's for a Bristol City channel maybe. But home to Middlesbrough then, I think they generally do well against Middlesbrough. I know I'm not a fan of sort of historic stuff. It's the here and now that counts. But I think they will generally do pretty well, and I think they'll take the points on Friday night to kick us off. So Bristol City 2, Middlesbrough 1. Then we have Burnley, who have first shout of the top 3 playing this weekend to make their mark, but the pressure on a little bit, and they really have to now. And they've got a tough one against Sheffield Wednesday, who are another team that have just clawed their way up to the playoff places but can't leapfrog into them yet. They had what to me was a bit of a disappointing. I know Coventry are really on a good run. Another team in that top, the 3, Coventry, Bristol City and Sheffield Wednesday, all doing the same thing, having a bit of a run that gets them near to that playoff door. And for me, I thought Sheffield Wednesday would have got something out of that game, but they went down to a 2-1 defeat. So they'll be a tough nut, but they've been a tough nut to crack over recent weeks. A couple of losses recently, though, so they need to keep a watch of that. I think that Burnley will be a step too far, I think. And I think they'll score a couple of goals. So they've really got to push on now. They've got to, they've got to perhaps get the defensive shackles off a little bit and really try and... because they might as well, because they're going to be in the playoffs almost certainly. So they might as well just go for it. Why go not get too defensive? If it comes naturally, fine. But I would just... be a little bit more front foot, shall we say. Burnley against Sheffield Wednesday then. I'm going to take them to win by 2-0. Burnley 2, the regulatory nil, of course. Sheffield Wednesday 0. That takes us into the main body of games on Saturday. And first up, a big game for Derby. They're all big games for when you're in the bottom three and really struggling. Derby, as I say, haven't won in a very long time now. A couple of draws recently sort of pepped them up a little bit, but... they went down badly last Friday night, I think it was, to Queen's Park Rangers, 4-0. That was a baptism of fire for their new manager, John Eustace. So he will hopefully have had a week now, no midweek game. So he might have instilled something of confidence back into the team, because that's what it needs. Because they were doing okay at the start of the season. They've just lost their way completely now. But they're home to Millwall, who have had 2 1-all draws since we last spoke. West Bromwich Albion last weekend and Preston North End, another catch-up game in the week. They're the 2 catch-up games that we had this week that I've mentioned now. So they've had a couple of draws, keeps their points ticking over, 42 points, middle for diddle, not going up, not going down most likely. So they're having a bit of almost starting their rundown to the end of the season, you would think. But they will still be competitive, as they have been for the middle chunk and latter weeks of this season so far. And I think it'll be another tough one. Either way, I'm going to take a 1-each draw. Derby County 1, Millwall 1. Then we have Plymouth, who will be glad to be back at home after a couple of away performances. Away trips. Away to Blackburn last weekend, where they went down 2-0, and as I say, that vital 1-all draw, which they'd be pleased to get a point off because they went behind, against Luton. So, Plymouth against Cardiff. Now, Cardiff had that last-minute equaliser against Bristol City, so they'll be in quite good spirits about that. But I think Plymouth will carry on their home form, as they have been. They're really rejuvenated at home again. And the home park crowd will be really behind them, and this new coach. He's a refreshing character, as I say. So I'm going to take Plymouth Argyle to take that one by 2-1. Plymouth Argyle 2, Cardiff City 1. Takes us on to Sunderland against Hull. Hull, having a bit of a dip again. 1 win in 5, 3 of those losses. And Sunderland, a tough place to go now. They've got their tails up a little bit. Although they did have a surprising loss. Not a surprising loss. In the end, it was a bit of a surprise because they were 1-0 up for quite a while in the match to Leeds. But Leeds just carried on. They go right to the end, don't they, this season? As I say, they're driven by last season's outcome, I'm sure. In the 90-something plus minute, they found probably an undeserved winner on the night, maybe, because Sunderland really gave it their all. I watched quite a bit of that match, and their real pressing game, and I think they just ran out of legs in the end. It was a tough old game. Anyway, so Sunderland then will be looking to put that right, that wrong, and I think they will quite comfortably. I'm going to take Sunderland to beat Hull City by 3-0. Then we go to Coventry, much improved Coventry of late, against Preston. Again, ticking along nicely themselves. A couple of draws last week, that 0-0 against Burnley, which again, they'll be pleased with, take a point off from the top 3. And probably not such a great point for them against home to Millwall, but there we go. That's what the division is. Coventry knocking on the playoff door. Can they leapfrog into it this weekend? They'll certainly hope to, and I think they'll just edge this one. Not much in it. Never is in games involving Preston. They're absolutely competitive to the end. But I'm going to take Coventry to nick it by 1-0. Home advantage, just having the say there. Norwich City against Stoke City. Stoke City stopped their slide. I said their manager was a bit flat after the poor defeat down at Bristol City recently, and they came up trumps against Swansea by 3-1. However, the irony of that is, or sort of irony, because it was a manager feeling a bit down against the Swansea manager, who this match was a step too far, a defeat too far at least. And Luke Williams has been relieved of his duties at Swansea this week since that defeat. So they're looking for a new coach. I saw a little vote on the webpage. I can't remember too many of the names, but so the fans are having their say on who they would like. But we'll talk about Swansea when we get to their match. So Stoke away to Norwich City. Norwich City had a 1-1 draw against Hull, which they'd be disappointed about a little bit, I think. But I think they'll score goals here. I think Stoke will go there, having had that win, with a bit more freedom maybe, but I think there'll be goals around. So I'm going to take a high-scoring win here for Norwich. Norwich 3, Stoke City 2. Then we come to Fratton Park and Portsmouth against Queen's Park Rangers. This was a landmark reverse fixture, if you remember, for Portsmouth. It was their first win back in the Championship, I believe, up at Loftus Road early in the season. So they'll be looking to do what is a rare double for them, because they can't get many opportunities to do doubles with their away form being so poor. But they have a chance here. But I think QPR made a sterner stuff now, and under Marty Cifuentes, and I think he will have them primed ready for the Fratton Roar and the Fratton Faithful and the pressure that they're putting on teams down at Fratton Park, both physically and mentally, I think, from what I'm reading. It's a real rough old tumble when you go down to Fratton Park these days. Managers afterwards, visiting managers, have made that point, some quite vociferously. So I'm going to take it to be a draw. I think I've sort of had a little soft spot for QPR all season. They were one of my surprise teams, and they've such a poor start to the season that's almost been taken away to be a surprise. But they're only 4 points off the playoffs, as are third of the division. But we shall see. But I think QPR made a sterner stuff, as I say. Fratton Park will be absolutely packed to the rafters, as usual, on Saturday afternoon. I'm going to take Portsmouth 1, Queen's Park Rangers 1. 4 to go, and we've got Swansea City against Blackburn Rovers. Swansea City, as I say, managerless now. They've had this real rotten run. The only spike they had was, as a Bristol City fan, slightly disappointed me, was when they went down to Ashton Gate and got that win. And it is an absolute beacon of a result in amongst a lot of poor ones, a lot of losses. So Swansea are real, and you can understand, I think, why they probably made the change, because they could see themselves slipping in to that bottom area. Although they've got an 8-point cushion, that can soon be whittled away at this time of the season, especially with the Easter programme still to come, where it's a bit of a rat-a-tat fixture list. So, Swansea against Blackburn. Blackburn had a nice, sensible, comfortable 2-0 win over Plymouth. I haven't heard about their manager yet. If I've missed that, I apologise. I haven't seen if they've picked one up since John Eustace has moved on. However, I think they're doing okay, and I think they're going to cling on to their 51 points at the moment, so they're 4 points clear of the 7th team, which is always going to be their landmark, I think, this season. And I think they'll go down to Swansea and go to Swansea and take advantage of Swansea's transition period at the moment. It'll be Swansea City 1, Blackburn Rovers 2. Last on the Saturday then is West Bromwich Albion against Oxford. Oxford having a little bit of a sticky patch now under new manager Gary Rowett. They had that manager bounce, as they all do, some do. Or they certainly did for a good while. It rescued their plight for a bit, but they're on 38 points now, and as I say, they lost at home to Portsmouth last week, which they'll be disappointed about, but Portsmouth certainly deserved that win and were very good on the day. No wins in 5 for Oxford, 3 draws, 2 losses, so they want to start getting a win somehow, but I don't think it's going to happen here. I think West Brom, Tony Mowbray will have them now. They're top of they're just the last team in the playoffs, holding off the Coventries, the Bristol Cities, the Sheffield Wednesdays and the like, just at the moment. So I think they will, I think they'll put Oxford away this time. West Bromwich Albion 2, Oxford United Two to go, and we have, I think it's an M1 derby. It's two sides close to each other on the M1, Watford and Luton. And they, so Watford will be buoyed by their excellent 1-0 win at Middlesbrough. Sort of came out the blue a little bit because they were having a real rotten run themselves. So they just extended the misery to Middlesbrough and picked up the points and said thanks very much. So they went down and had a good win there. I think they'll follow it up. It's a midday kickoff on Sunday. So Sunday lunchtime affair. I think Luton desperate to get this win. You can see it, as I said earlier on, you can see it in the manager's face and voice now that the no-win new manager thing is beginning to get to him a little bit. He speaks very well, by the way, Matt Bloomfield. Very articulate. But that isn't getting points on the board and getting wins on the board anyway. So he needs to come up with some magic, and I think it's going to be a struggle in this one against Watford, whose home record is slipped up of late. So there is that spike, that sort of chink in the Watford armour at home at recent games. But I'm going to take Watford to step up and take the match by 2-1. Now, last but certainly not least this weekend, it's the top two taking the field on Monday night. Now, sometimes these games are built up and then they're a bit of a letdown. We had a couple of those, I think, haven't we? With involving the top two. And this could end up being one of those because I think it depends on how Burnley get on to a certain degree. If Burnley put the pressure on Sheffield United and close the gap to 2 points, then Sheffield United will, by implication, will need to try and sort of dictate the match a little bit and because they'll want to keep that 5-point gap. Leeds now unbeaten since I think it's December the 7th. It's a 15-game unbeaten run. 11 wins in that time, 4 draws, only 8 points dropped. And it's taken a bit. They're not really shaking these two teams off, but they've certainly put a bit of breathing space between them and Burnley. And it's 2 points between Sheffield and United and Leeds. So if Burnley were to draw or lose, for instance, Leeds and Sheffield just mentally might think, let's have a point here and see what we can do for the rest of the season, shake each other's hands, and then go off and do their stuff. I'm sure it won't be that won't be the case, outwardly. But it is very easy to fall into that gap if you see Burnley drop points. If you see what I'm getting at. So there we go. What do I think about this game? I'm just going to sit on the fence. I know that's a bit tedious, but I am going to say the top two very much. I will say though that Sheffield United have got a little bit of not lucky wins, but it's twice recently I've seen their own manager come out and say we were second best, which is easy to say when you win, I guess. But they have picked up 2 wins with them saying that against Portsmouth and against Luton. So 2 of the sides in the sort of bottom 6 or 7 at the time they played them, and he said on both occasions they were second best, but managed to scrape the points or get the points, which is what it's all about, and that's what they've been very good at. So I'm sure the shackles may come off, and let's hope it is a really good end-to-end game to end the weekend on Monday night. So there we have it. I'm going to say 1 each, by the way, sitting on the fence, but there we go. That's me. I can't split them, to be honest, and I can't split them for the title at the moment, although I think Leeds just have the edge up to this point. So, well, they do because they're 2 points late, but you know what I mean, in general play, during performance and stuff. So there we go. That's it for another weekend, another exciting one, we hope. I'm sure there'll be lots of thrills and spills. As always, please tell your family, friends, nearest and dearest to subscribe and view some of the content on this channel. It's really excellent stuff that the guys do. And I will no doubt be back to talk about another championship week next week. So until then, have a great weekend. Stay safe and stay healthy. And I'll see you all again very soon. Take care. Bye-bye.